Top 10 fighting games of all time. Now, I've been wanting to do this list for a while. I've played a plethora of fighting games. I've been wanting to do a list like this for a while now. But the reason it took me a little while to do it is because I was having to really go back and look at the list, and I was thinking to myself, which ones did I really have on here for nostalgic reasons, and which ones are actually good fighting games? But then I realized it's my list. I can do whatever the hell I want. So without further ado, let's get into the list. First game on the list is an honorable mention, and that will be purely because of nostalgia, because I have not fully went back to that game and tried to play it for like, I don't know how many years now. But of course, that game is Mortal Kombat Trilogy. Mortal Kombat Trilogy on the Nintendo 64 was the first fighting game that I had ever touched and ever picked up. I think I was like at age like 3 or 4. I was pretty young. Mortal Kombat, well, yeah, that was the first fighting game I ever played, and I just have so many memories with that game, man. I just have so many, just playing it with family and friends, just so many really good memories that like just take you back when I think about that game. I love that. I will always have that. I will always defend that game to the day I die. I also think that was the first Mortal Kombat to where you could actually play as bosses. You could play as Shao Kahn, Motaro, Kintaro. Also, they had things like the 8-person tournament mode. You could play as like up to like 8 people, and like a 3v3 tournament mode. I don't think there was an Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3. Also, it was the first game that Chameleon was introduced. You know? But Mortal Kombat Trilogy is really good. I always defend it to the day I die, but it didn't make the list. My bad, OG. Moving on to number 10, which is going to be a game that will probably never ever see the light of day again, is Killer Instinct Gold. Killer Instinct Gold and Killer Instinct 2 is basically the same game. It's just Killer Instinct Gold was a home console port of Killer Instinct 2. Kind of like how we have Mortal Kombat 3, then Mortal Kombat Ultimate 3, and then Mortal Kombat Trilogy. Let me tell you, Killer Instinct Gold still holds up till this day. To this day! Killer Instinct Gold came out on the Nintendo 64 in '96, and I swear to God, it still feels like you're playing a game like a modern fighting game with how fluid and how rapid and how fluid that this combat in this game feels. I'll come right out and I'll say it right now, you will not get a better gameplay feel from a fighting game that came out around that time than Killer Instinct Gold. You won't. I will die on this hill that this is the best feeling fighting game out of all like the older ones. This is definitely the best feeling one, and it holds up still to this day. You can hop on this bitch right now and you can still play it, and you won't feel nothing. It won't feel dated, I promise you. Which, by the way, funny enough, I know I'm old. All right, damn it, relax. Don't start with the jokes. I still have both my copies of Killer Instinct Gold and Mortal Kombat Trilogy for the Nintendo 64. AI Gold was the one that I put so much time in. That was I think that was the first fighting game that I actually sat down at a young age and like labbed. That was like the first fighting game I've ever done it in that young of an age. AI Gold is a really great game. That's why it's number 10 on this list, even despite how old it is. Moving to number 9, we have Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3. Now, I know what some of y'all may be thinking. You got Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3 that low? Yeah, I do. It was a fun game. I enjoy it, still enjoy it to this day. That is one of the most broken pieces of shit games I have ever played in my life. First of all, let's talk about X Factors. X Factor was kind of like a comeback system that was added in Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3 that wasn't in vanilla MVC3. It increased your stats, your damage, your speed. I think it could cause you to regain recoverable health too. And you could only use it once per match. The problem is, you could use that bitch anytime you wanted to. That's like X-rays being put into Mortal Kombat. As soon as the round starts, boom, someone's already going like right into an X-ray. But the main problem was, you took in vanilla Marvel vs. Capcom 3, where people already had infinite combos that they could do. Now the new X-Factor mechanic opened up a can for new characters to do infinite combos as well, just with their X-Factor. And also, some characters who had command grab supers in Ultimate Marvel MVC3, they're invincible on frame 1. You can't interrupt them. You can't do nothing. If they're close enough to you to get that grab, you're done. You're just going to have to eat that. Now, I'm saying all this and letting vanilla Marvel vs. Capcom 3 slide by. Don't get it twisted. You're a broken piece of shit ass game too. But seeing as how I play Ultimate MVC 3 the most, that's the one that's going on here to prevent from being repetitive. Number 8, we have to go. I have to include it. Super Smash Brothers Brawl. Super Smash Brothers in general is widely considered a game that you need to have friends to have fun on it. I had no friends at the time, and I had a blast on Smash Brawl. It was the first Super Smash Brothers to actually have a full, like, cinematic story mode, which actually, the cutscenes and everything looks great for it being, like, on the Wii. Not only that, I don't believe all of them were, but some missions in that co-op was actually, in the story mode was actually co-op. You could play it with, I think it was just 2 people, but you could still do co-op story mode if you wanted to. Really great soundtrack. You could create your own stages if you wanted to. And of course, it featured one of my favorite video game characters of all time, so I have to give it points for that. Showtime. Also, it was the first Smash Brothers to introduce third-party characters. All these third-party characters that we have in Ultimate, yeah, you got Smash Brawl to thank for that, for having Snake and Hedgehog as like their first third-party characters. First Smash Brothers to do Final Smashes. You know, the Smash Balls, but you get them and get to do your whole super. Yeah, it was the first Smash Brothers to have that. Smash Brothers Brawl walked so Ultimate could run. Number 7 is going to be Tekken 5. Now, Tekken 5 is on my top 10 fighting games of all time, but not for the reasons you may think. It has nothing to do with gameplay or any of that. It has to do with what Tekken 5 taught me. Before I discovered Tekken 5, I was comfortably staying in my little bubble. You know, Mortal Kombat, Street Fighter, Killer Instinct, a little bit of Soul Calibur here and there. I was mostly staying in my little bubble. Didn't really like to go outside of it, but then I tried Tekken 5. That game taught me that there is levels to this fighting game stuff. And regardless of how much time I put into Tekken 5, no matter how much time I put in, I could never get the hang of that game. That game has left an impression in my head from how much it's whooped my ass, but also as I've gotten older and I've played more Tekken, I can look back and honestly say that, yeah, I can understand why people have these games so high. These genuinely are great games, even though it took me so long to get over that learning curve from the Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter to the Tekken. I can now go back and look at it and I can see why, okay, yeah, I can see that these are some of the greats. And the reason why there's not a shadow of a doubt in my mind that the Tekken series in general is just a hard fighter to get into, and probably the most like the highest skill ceiling for a fighting game. And for you hardcore Tekken fans, you're gonna be mad at me later in this video. But we're not gonna talk about it. We're gonna move on to number 6, which is Street Fighter 4. Even if you're not a fan of Street Fighter 4, we as fighting game fans in general owe a lot to Street Fighter 4. Because in the late 90s and early 2000s, that's when arcades really started to die off and the site of casual play started to die along with it. Think about it, arcades are alive and well. You don't need to financially it was great for casual players. You don't need to buy a whole console to play fighting games on. You go to the arcade, slip a quarter in, and boom, you're playing. And with the death of arcades, that pretty much got rid of that. So in the early to mid 2000s, fighting games are really only marketed towards the very niche group of the people in the genre. But as time goes on and consoles become more of a prevalent thing in households, and then boom, Street Fighter 4 is dropped. Especially now that online play was more prevalent and was actually functional. That just ultimately opened the floodgates for a huge new player base of casual players. Of course, combining that with that coming out around the same time as the boom of esports play, Street Fighter 4 did nothing but pretty much revive fighting games from almost the brink of extinction. The only real drawback I can think of that game is that it was using a delay-based netcode instead of rollback. Of course, rollback wasn't really implemented into fighting games as much as it is now. Thinking back, that is only the only major drawback I can think about from that game. Now, this was really hard for me. It was super hard, but number 5, I'm gonna have to go Mortal Kombat X. There's no doubt in my mind that Mortal Kombat X has the best gameplay in the franchise and some of the best gameplay out of fighting games in general. The fast-paced, high-octane combat, introducing the run, which contributed to that fast-paced, high-octane combat, which we haven't seen since like Mortal Kombat 4, I think, when we do our best to erase that Mortal Kombat from our memory. And of course, having the variation system with every character getting 3 different ways to play the character is absolutely insane. And Mortal Kombat X possibly having the best guest roster in Mortal Kombat history. Places where the game falls short for me. Mortal Kombat X is very ugly. A lot of the character designs look very uninspired and really lazy. Color grading in that game was absolutely horrid. Everything looks dark and washed out. And I know it kind of fits, like that's kind of like been like the aesthetic of the game, but it still looks bad. And I'm sorry, that story was not it. A lot of you all may be looking at me right now, well, who goes to fighting games for a story? I do, damn it. I love story in my games. I don't care what game it is, I love story. They made a huge push for the combat kids in this game just for the next game to come out and then for the realize that, hey, you guys don't matter anymore. It's back to Raiden and Liu Kang. Those are the main ones, yay. Johnny Cage gets this mystical power out of nowhere to fight Elder Gods. What? So as far as gameplay goes, one of the greatest of all time, no doubt. But ultimately, it does end up lacking for me a little bit in certain different areas. And this is why Mortal Kombat X was so hard for me to put at 5, but number 4, Mortal Kombat 9. I do think Mortal Kombat X's gameplay is above Mortal Kombat 9 slightly, but I have to give credit where credit is due. Mortal Kombat 9 saved the franchise. The very mediocre 3D era of Mortal Kombat and of course Mortal Kombat vs. DC almost killed off Mortal Kombat. There's not a single thing I can go back to the 3D era of Mortal Kombat and think like, wow, that was really good. And Mortal Kombat 9 heavily put Mortal Kombat in general on the map. Mortal Kombat boosted it too much that this became now a cultural juggernaut along with X. The story was good, gameplay was top tier, design-wise characters looked really cool. All in all, Mortal Kombat 9 is a solid all-around game. There's not really any downsides to Mortal Kombat 9 that I can think of. That is a very well-rounded game. And for number 3, remember Tekken fans, I said you were gonna get mad at me? Well, get ready, because number 3 is Tekken 8. Now, before I get a bunch of dislikes, please, all of you all hear me out. Remember back a little bit earlier, I said that I played Tekken 5. We have to remember something. I'm basically coming into Tekken 8 as a Tekken casual. This game had me absolutely hooked from day one. Now listen, I get the discourse around this Tekken because even as a Tekken casual, but going back and looking at older Tekkens or having played a little bit of older Tekkens, I can see why there is some pretty heavy discourse around this game. So much so to where I'm at the point where I'm complaining about some of the stuff that the OG fans are complaining about. So believe me when I say I've done my research. I've gone back, looked at older games, played older games, and comparing them to this Tekken, and I can see why some of the OG fans of this series are upset. To sit back and say that this is absolutely the worst Tekken ever, like some of you all do, I cannot agree with that one at all. This game has had me in a chokehold since release. I still play it religiously to this day. Now, some of you all might say that it is because you are a Tekken casual, which is funny because going back and looking at older Tekkens, Tekken 6 was actually the first one that started into implementing things that you all are complaining about. The whole catering the casuals thing, yeah, that started in Tekken 6 and went on to Tekken 7 and now in Tekken 8, but it seems like Tekken 6 and 7 are just you can't get no criticism from them. It's gotten to the point to where Tekken 8 has gotten me wishing that I had have stuck with the series from the beginning when I first played in Tekken 5. I really wish that I had of. When people sit back and say it's the worst fighting game or it's the worst Tekken that they've ever played, I swear some of you all don't know what bad games are. Tekken 8 is not a bad game at all. It is definitely visually the best looking Tekken ever. And depending on who you are, gameplay wise, this more fast-paced, high-octane Tekken may be more for you. But anyways, I digress, damn it. Tekken 8 is number 3 for me on my list. That's where it's staying. Number 2, Marvel vs. Capcom 2. Marvel vs. Capcom 2 set the standard for what a tag fighter should be, for me at least being my first tag fighter. Another notoriously broken game, but you know what? It's fine. We give Marvel vs. Capcom 2 and Marvel vs. Capcom 3 a pass, even though I did kind of criticize Marvel vs. Capcom 3 earlier. But I don't hold that against those games too much because Marvel vs. Capcom, we expect that from you now. We expect it from you. You have that nice broken piece of shit ass that we love so much because we know it ain't going nowhere. It's gonna be in your games. And it's just another game that holds up so incredibly well to today's standards. And now with the Marvel vs. Capcom Fighting Collection, we can now have great online play. Very smooth and very good online play, actually. Very, very great game. Hopefully we get another Marvel vs. Capcom that isn't complete ass. What? MVCI? I wasn't talking about you. But on to number 1, and what takes the number 1 spot for the best fighting game for me is, drumroll please, Street Fighter Third Strike. Even though I love this game and probably will be number 1 for me until the day I die, this game is not casual friendly at all. Even with all the fighters that have came out today, Street Fighter Third Strike is still widely known as one of the most hardest games probably in the franchise. This is a very high damage, high punishing game with a very, although the mechanic is good, a very tight parrying mechanic. This is not a game that you can go into and just button match, because if you do, you will pay dearly. And it still has that arcade feel where the computer will beat you down mercilessly. Gameplay wise, the game is amazing. Art direction, music. The music in this game is phenomenal. Beautiful visuals. There's nothing bad that I can say about Street Fighter Third Strike at all. My first Street Fighter game ever, my favorite Street Fighter game, and will probably for always pretty much remain my favorite of all time. But that's going to do it for this video, ladies and gentlemen. I know some people may be asking, oh, where are the Soul Caliburs? Where is the Street Fighter Turbo 2? Those games, while they are good, I love Soul Calibur. Some of those games just they didn't make the list, damn it. All right, they didn't make the list. This is my list, okay? But other than that, please let me know what you guys thought of my list. Please leave your top 10 fighting games of all time down in the comments below. Make sure you like, comment, share, subscribe, and I will catch you all in the next one. All right, peace.